Morning there, ladies and germs. Well, we got ourselves quite possibly one of the corniest videos I'll probably ever post on this YouTube channel. A little stormy today. Friggin' neighborhood's an absolute disaster. Fir needles everywhere, leaves everywhere. It's that time of the year. Anyways, let's get on with this. So what we're doing today is we are putting on a pair of Lakewood style traction bars on the LS swapped Ford Ranger. You can see I cheated and I did the driver's side first to see how it all was going to go together. That way I can present the best possible options when we show you the passenger side. Isaac and I just got done doing 8.8 axle swap with a track lock differential, 355 gears, 1,000,000 times better going down the road than the 411s were that were in the original 7.5 axle. Before anybody asks, well, how come you didn't make a video on putting the 8.8 axle in the Ranger? And I'm like, well, quite simply because there's already 800 videos of how to put an 8.8 axle in a Ford Ranger, and we don't need 801. Okay, so this is what we get in the kit. It's pretty simple. I should clarify, these are the Jegs version of a Lakewood traction bar. They're exactly the same, probably come out of the same factory these days. These were on sale, and it was almost too good to pass up. I think I paid $60 for them. It was a big sale. I can't remember how many percent off. One thing I'm a little bit disappointed in, I did not want chrome. I don't have a problem with chrome. I have a problem with cheap chrome getting all rusty. The web page for this specific part number said that these were gray powder coat. This is obviously not gray powder coat. That is some kind of nickel chrome finish. But we'll run them until they get rusty, and then ultimately the plan is to put Caltrax on this truck. Those of you that are in the know already know what those are, and I don't need to describe it, but it's a modern version of a traction bar. This is our hardware. Pretty simple. This will not work for every application. So do your homework before you order these. There's 2 or 3 different styles of these in the way that they attach to the spring. Here's our snubber. According to our minimalist instructions, which are basically common sense instructions, they want the snubber to be a 1/2 inch away from the leaf spring. Now, since it is a truck spring, it has a fair amount of arch to it, even on a 2-wheel drive. So I ended up pulling the snubber back to the closest hole to the axle to get the snubber as close to the leaf spring as possible. Depending on your application, you may have it all the way out here and have to cut some of it off. The other clear thing that they say in the instructions is that this should at minimum be parallel with the chassis, or if anything tipped up a little bit. They should never be tipped down towards the ground. On the Ranger, it doesn't appear that's going to be a problem. It'll probably be tipped up a little bit. Alright, that's enough jibber jabber. Let's go put these things on. Okay, so we're going to start by putting the snubber in. And when you use the hole closest to the axle, it's a bit of a pain in the butt to get that thing tightened up, because you can't get a socket in there, and a wrench doesn't really run that good in there either, because the tubing is so narrow. Some people might even have a little bit of a problem getting the nut started on the stud. So I run it down as far as I can by just turning the snubber until it won't go anymore. There's not enough room in there to turn with the box end. If I had a gear wrench, it'd probably work, but I don't have an American gear wrench here. This is a 9/16. So I'm literally doing a half flat at a time. All right, I'm gonna get this torqued up. Doesn't have to be super tight, just get it to where the lock washer is crushed, and that is good enough. Then I'll meet you out at the truck. I just have it loosely set in place. Kind of get the gist of what we got going on over here. These U-bolts can accommodate several different widths of springs, probably up to a 3-inch spring. We want this to be, for the most part, centered between the two brackets for the U-bolts to be about centered. On that same note, you got to pay attention to where your snubber's going to land. I am setting this up so that the snubber is going to hit the very tip of this leaf right here. Not this leaf, but the third leaf. I can't get any further out to get onto this leaf without having to make shims, and I don't want to invest that kind of time into this for something that I'm not going to keep permanently. So I'm going to get this, I'm just using my old AC Delco power ratchet, and we're going to zap this guy up to the spring. These mounts are going to bottom out on the spring and not the U-bolt plate. I don't think it really matters as long as it's square and up tight on either the U-bolt plate or the spring. They don't specify a torque for these U-bolts. Also, these U-bolts, they seem kind of cheap, like not even hardware store grade. On the other side, I did have one where the nut started fine, and then it got about halfway up and it galled up, seized, and then snapped off. Thankfully for my installation, these are long enough that I was able to just grind a new end on it and get another nut and continue on. I didn't have to go buy a new U-bolt. So yes, these are somewhat inexpensive, and with inexpensive you get inexpensive quality. Turn it the right way. Okay, still loose, but run down till we're touching. Okay, looks like this side's going to go together without snapping any U-bolts off. So since this spring is about in the middle of the allowable dimension, it's going to be a little sloppy, so take some time to center the bar up on the spring, make sure it's square to the truck. Okay, looks like we need to go back about a ½ an inch. That's looking pretty good right there. I'd be pretty happy with that. So what I'm using for a torque is basically everything that the little 3/8 power ratchet will give me, and when it stops, that's tight enough. Snug the back up a little bit more. Nice and even. You don't want them all cockeyed. Come on, Special. Okay. Use your aim. Okay. Gonna call that good. Gonna call that good. So one of the reasons why I wanted to get these on here now is so I can finish the rest of my exhaust system and get these janky little part store turn downs off of here, because it is loud as hell inside the cab with the dumps on it. We gotta get at least over the axle and out the back there somewhere. But anyways, let me get this wheel put back on, and we'll kind of check out the stance with it sitting back on the ground.